Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends to the House of the Unusual podcast, your weekly podcast for all things that are pretty cool out there. So thank you guys for joining us. Let's see, who do we have on our list of guests today? Ooh, we have the one and the only, the maestro of mail order mysteries, Eddie Guevara. Eddie, what's up?
I'm here.
There's
All
Eddie.
right, and let's see, on the list as well, we have the dynamic duo of Chuck and Cheri Caputo. Chuck and Cheri, how are you?
We're
Hey,
doing well.
all right, pretty
Hello,
good.
hello.
All right, and I am your other half of the host, Joe Pavlansky, and that's all I'm going to say about me right now because I want to turn it over to Chuck and Cheri and see what's new with them. So, what's up, guys? What's new? What's going on in the world?
Yeah, not too much. Keeping pretty busy. We got a school show tomorrow, and we're wrapping up a bunch of shows, almost like every other day, pretty much. And you know what? There was an interesting thing that happened. I was doing some yard work. We have a front slope. I was on the front slope cutting some weeds and hedges and everything. I slipped down the front slope a few times, and my lower back is killing me. Oh my goodness! Yeah, so I've been kind of babying it a little bit. You know what? I got a propensity for some serious head injuries, so I got to be careful. I guess that explains it, huh?
Now, Cheri, did you take over yard work duties then when Chuck was down with his quote unquote hurt back?
No, not at all. You won't catch me in those weeds.
No,
I have my own problems.
That's good.
Yeah. But the only thing, we went over our oldest son, Michael, his house today because he has an inversion board. Do you guys have you ever used that before? Or?
Oh, I love those things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he put Chuck in there and stretched him out.
Down.
Yeah. So he is feeling a lot better. So that's good news.
Hey, I was hanging upside down like Count Chocula.
They said, "All right, Chuck, we'll see you later," and left you hanging.
Somebody had asked, "Where's Chuck?" And they said he went down a slippery slope.
Yeah, that's true.
That boy's heading down a slippery slope in life. He better get his act together.
I'm telling you, man, it's easy to slide with all that rain. All the ground was real mushy. You know what I mean? And you couldn't get your footing. And it's a pretty.
You need spiked shoes.
Yeah, I got to wear spikes or something.
Really,
well, I was gonna say one of the new things now that you guys are doing that stuff. There is. I don't know. I think it's one of those alien shows or something that's going to be in Newark on the 11th. I think it's tomorrow or today's the 11th, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, today there's a show and it's from here. It's going directly to Ohio. So I figure, Joe, one of the things that was brought up on television when they were talking about the show is that some guy said, I forgot what part way back, there was an alien ship landed in some dude's backyard. and gave him two crackers. The alien asked him for water, and he turned around and gave him two crackers. Jim mentioned the story to me, and he said that years later, the government came to investigate, and he still had one of the crackers left. And I think it was kind of weird where they did some experiments on it and stuff, and they said it was totally like it had no salt or. I forgot what features were in it, but did you ever hear that story, Joe?
Yeah, they made him. He called it pancakes, and I could. Yeah, I alien landed in my backyard too and gave me some pancakes. I ate one this morning. I have one for breakfast tomorrow.
So, is that a real story, or is that something that's told? Because apparently,
it's a real story. I mean, who knows how true it is, but yeah, it's a real story that happened some years ago. I can't recall, but.
Well, you know what? If the alien comes to send them over to mine, this way I don't have to cook any.
Well, maybe we could get the aliens to land at Chuck and Cheri's, and they could finish up the yard work out there.
Yeah, they could zap it. That would be awesome.
Yeah, could you imagine that alien lands and says, welcome to Earth. We are from planet Zeta Reticuli. And Chuck's like, hey, hold on. Could you just finish my yard work for me real quick?
Yeah.
And then we'll talk. I got to get it done.
And you know what? It would be nice if they'd make breakfast too. That would be great, man.
Yeah, really. And then go inside and make me some pancakes. I'll be on the couch watching TV.
Yeah.
What the heck? Where did we just come to? And you go, you look out there, and there's some little gray alien pushing your lawnmower, swearing in some, off planet language because he's been here, millions of light years, and he's pushing a lawnmower in some guy's front yard.
Oh my goodness!
That would be funny.
Tell you what. Since we're talking about aliens and flying saucers, the reason I brought up the topic is because I was looking while I was, packing stuff into storage and organizing. I came across an ad that was selling different flying saucer plans back in the early 80s. So I'm going to post it in the forum so people could see what they look like or something. One was for a starship. One was for something else. They were pretty expensive. They were asking like $17,000, $18,000 a set of plans back then.
Wow.
And, I was going to consider the Starship one. This way I could probably go to Mars and invade Mars. I don't know if that works.
Hey, what was that one toy, Eddie? That novelty way back in the 60s and 70s. It was the hover car. What exactly was that?
What you're talking about, the Johnson Smith sold in all the ads and comic books?
Yeah.
Okay, the air car.
Yep.
That was actually made by a company called Victor Stansel.
Okay.
And what it did is, of course, it was a battery-operated hovercraft, and it had not a wire. It was more like I think it would be considered today to be one of those fiber optic things. It's like a large plastic, like a long plastic. And what it did is you had what looked like a flashlight. You held it in your hand, and you put two D-size batteries. Those are the really big batteries.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would put two of them there. So it had a motor in the tip. And when you press the button down, the motor would turn and that would spin the propeller. So the propeller, actually, the power of the propeller was in the battery. Was in your hand in the flashlight unit.
Mm-hmm.
And what propelled the propeller was a fiber optic, really thick, not really thick, but, thick enough that when it spun around, it made the thing inside spin, ironically. And it would lift it off the air, would float on water and stuff like that. But, it was just basically the same thing as a hovercraft, sold for many, many years. Mm-hmm. When I came across the idea of trying to sell it back in probably 1983, 84, I'm sorry, I think it was after 1985, must have been 85, 86. I contacted the company and bought at that time 24. I still have maybe 8 of them left in the original box, but they were made by the Victor Stansel company, and they were sold in Johnson Smith for years.
Yeah, I saw those ads, but I never bought one of those. How big were they? I mean, could they like fit in your hand, or is it much bigger?
No, absolutely no. It's actually pretty large. They're the size of they're about the size, a little bit bigger than a plate, like a dinner plate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little bigger than that.
Just the right size for me to fit in then. Perfect.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah. I could get my
know-
fingers in there. My fingers could hover around.
What
We'll
you
have
know
to
what made it
screen first.
unique?
Yeah, like a shrinky dink.
Yeah. Put it in the oven. I'll just put it in the oven, and 7 hours later, it'll be life size.
No, I was gonna say what made that air car unique. You know what it was? Because it was shaped like a flying saucer,
Yeah.
and it had like a little thing in the top that looked like somebody would go inside it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
It's funny that you brought that up, Chuck. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm gonna see how many I have left, and the rest is history. I'm not gonna say much or anything, but let me see how many I have left.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that would be cool. There's a place out near out close to you, Eddie. I checked it out. It's in Grover's Mill, New Jersey, and that's where the War of the Worlds broadcast was. Did you
yes,
visit?
yes.
Did you ever visit that? I saw that on some episode somewhere. It looked pretty cool.
Oh wow.
No, you know what, Chuck? To be honest with you, I never even considered it. Now that you mention it, I wonder if there is like some type of museum there of some sort,
I think there is, and they got a pretty cool looking plaque. With with like an alien. Yeah, it has like wells on there, and it's next to like an alien type of craft and everything. It looks like a pretty cool place to visit. I mean, it's it looked kind of neat.
It's only about 40 minutes, I think 50 minutes from me. I don't think it's that far away. it's something to consider. If it's there, I might actually go in a
Yeah,
weekend.
and
No,
there's
that would
and
be
there.
really.
Oh yeah, and there's a museum out near you too, Eddie. It's called the Morris Museum. It's in Morristown, New Jersey, and they got like different type of robotics I saw online, and like wind up old types of things on, that are on display. That might be something too if you've never checked it out.
That's actually that museum. I've never even checked it out. I think I read about it one time. That museum is located in the same town where Chiller Theater takes place.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's been I mean it's I haven't really gone there or anything. That the War of the Worlds one that might be interesting. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a lot of legends from the Jersey Devil to
yeah.
many things in New Jersey, and I think Joe is familiar with it because I think Joe, didn't you write one time for Weird New Jersey?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No,
No,
not me. Maybe that was you. You're in Jersey.
no, that was
No,
weird.
I'm talking
No,
about
that
the
was weird.
magazine.
That was weird, Pittsburgh.
No, definitely wasn't me. But hey, that's pretty awesome. You brought up the Orson Welles radio program because I actually wanted to talk about some old time radio today, but that kind of was like jogging my brain about how radio was back then. I mean, could you imagine if something like that was on the radio today? Do either any of you guys think that it would have had the reaction?
No.
Today. Now,
No.
back then, a very common misperception about that is that the whole world your whole United States was going crazy. It was actually, a few small pockets, and there's actually a newspaper journalist who really blew it up.
Right.
Because, he was trying to work to discredit radio because, he believed it was taken over, for the newspaper, but it really wasn't as widespread as many people think it is. But,
Yeah.
Do you guys think anything like that would fly today where people brush it off or be like, yes, welcome our alien, overlord?
Yeah, I think people would laugh about it nowadays. But, from my understanding, I think it was 1939 Orson Welles broadcasted that, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think it was
38, I think.
Yeah, 38. But yeah, I think people were terrified. I mean, from what I've read, people were really carrying on. And so, I don't think nowadays it would have that effect. What do you think, Cheri?
Well, let's go back on something when you say nowadays. Now with all the technology and stuff, we got more people that believe in the flat Earth, and we didn't go to the moon. I think it's capable to happen again.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
You got that many, kind of interesting people out there, and the funny thing is they're the educated kind. It's not like, you would say, well, maybe the guy never went to school. No, we're talking about educated computer programmers.
Yeah, you're right.
People that know, and they're actually, oh no, the Earth actually, the sun, I think, is in the center, and we're just hanging from some string from the sun. It's
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's even though those conspiracy theories had been around since. I remember reading that in 1973. I think it was 72 when I was a little kid, in back of a comic book or something, that you could buy a book called The Hollow Earth Theory or something like that.
Yeah.
And now they're making a debut again, and with Facebook, where everybody's now a newscaster, you have people anywhere from saying Trump is the beast to what I'm saying, to Biden. I mean, it's, in all honesty, you would think that people today, as smart as everybody is, and the technology we have, but I don't know. I think we've gone back 100 years.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, you never know. And that came out in 1938.
38.
October 30th, 1938, and it was on the Columbia Broadcasting System radio.
Okay.
Network. Yeah, that episode was hosted by the Mercury Theater on the air.
The Mercury
Theater. I have the episode. I have it in CD and a DVD. I have it. When you guys talk about that stuff, Mercury Theater and all that, even what is that place that, Chuck, we were talking about, that's by you, the Kecksburg?
Yeah, Kecksburg. That's outside of Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I saw something like that. What a coincidence that the Kecksburg flying saucer, whatever it is, that's out there in display, looks just like the bell from
it does.
Bell.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually one of the theories, that's an actual the bell, the Glocken from back in Germany, and it kind of like went through the time type of dimension, and it traveled from 1942 up to 1962 or 63 when that happened, because because the Germans were actually experimenting with time travel, with that bell, there was mercury that was spinning real fast in its almost like the centrifuge, and I think they were onto something where it could have possibly led to time travel. They were experimenting with it anyway, and the framework is actually in Poland, if I'm not mistaken. There's a cement, like a concrete framework for it, and it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, you're right. I think there was something where the bell was, but I think you know what it is. If it could have been something like that, I wouldn't say the time travel thing because I don't know they really were able to achieve any of that stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised that maybe there was some type of craft that in 1962 I told you guys a story one time, and I've said it many times. I was coming back in the early 80s when I started my mail order business. I wanted to sell plans on how to make a flying saucer. So I don't know, it came about a copywriter goes to me, why don't you run an ad something? So he says, try something like actual UFO blueprints, I think documented by the U.S. government. And then I said, that would be perfect to have a United States patent, which it is documented by the government, and it's a flying saucer kind of blueprint.
Wow.
And I went to Newark, New Jersey, and of course it was kind of funny because I got like a $75 ticket for parking in front of the library. And when I was up there, I actually got not one, but over 19 different patents that were from Lockheed and other and they were actual flying saucers that that they had gotten patents for. One was for the Army, but the whole thing I'm trying to say is that the technology was probably there because this is from 1947.
Right.
The one patent that I used, but they were all like from the early 40s, late 40s, 50s.
Right.
And you know what? When you say the bell, who knows if the bell was, maybe they made it and maybe that's what happened in Kettsburg. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And then the TV program Unsolved Mysteries did a spoof about it, I think in maybe 1980, 82, somewhere around there, and they built that the fiberglass craft. And so once they're done with the episode, they asked the Kecksburg Fire Company, would you guys like to have this? So they said, yeah. So it's still on display there. So if you want to take pictures near it, it's kind of cool. It's about 8 feet tall, and it's it's an exact replica of the craft supposedly that they found in Kecksburg.
I saw a picture of it. It looks like it's made out of cement or brown, like a flower pot, upside down flower pot.
Yeah. You know what? It looks like an acorn almost.
Right. It doesn't. I mean, I was kind of surprised it wouldn't do a better job than that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you know what? I guess they were working on a shoestring budget or something. I don't know.
There's a little small sign. If you zoom into the thing underneath, it says this item was made by. It says J. Pav. I think it's. I'm not sure with the cereal. I mean, is that you, Joe?
Absolutely, it's me. Absolutely, I was selling it for $17.99. The plans for it, and someone got it.
But they got they got every kind of UFO memorabilia there you can imagine, and they got T-shirts. And you meet Stan Gordon, Joe. That was a big thrill, I tell you. He signed an autographed picture for me, and I got a picture taken next to him. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've met him several times at Monster Bash and read a few of his books. He's a real nice guy, very knowledgeable, and he does a lot of presentations.
Yes, he is. He's a very nice guy. I think I pulled out a deck of cards and performed a card trick for him, if I'm not mistaken. It was fun. He got a good sense of humor too. Yeah.
I tell you what's cool is that how when you look, going back to the old radio dramas and all that, on how much, even in like the 30s, and because, old time radio, the golden age of radio, started in the 20s and, lasted through the 50s a little bit, with the advent of television in everybody's household, it kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure some of I don't even know if we would have any listeners out there who would remember, having not having a TV and just a radio in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was one.
It might be Eddie because he's up that age.
No, I was one because in Cuba we didn't have a television.
See?
I know what you're talking about. We only had a small old-fashioned radio. I'm talking about the one with the one knob in the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
But Joe, do remember one thing, sir. Today is the golden age of podcast. There's
That's
more
true.
podcasts than YouTube channels right now.
Wow. It's good to know.
Yeah. So it's almost like, radio's, making a comeback. But even, during that time, like during like the 30s, 40s, and 50s, you had a lot of like some of the most popular shows had to do with UFOs and aliens and off-planet themes. Even you look at the pulp magazines at the time, the most famous ones, aside from like The Shadow and Doc Savage, were the sci-fi ones that dealt with the same things of these extra planetary beings that are coming to Earth, or even at the time they were talking about how we would go to these other planets and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Yeah, that was
I
cool.
think what I read, I was listening to this really cool story the other day. I think it was by X-1 or Dimension X. I can't remember. I believe it was from the 40s though, or early 50s, and it was a really cool story. So like a lot of them, they always had like this at the ending would be kind of like a twist, kind of like how Twilight Zone. You watch those, and at the end there was some type of twist to the story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah. So on this story, this ship, they crash land on some planet, and they're kind of like they seem like they might be like a military type unit with like some scientists and everything on it. So they're in their spacesuits and all that as they're on the planet, and one of the scientists says, "Hey, this atmosphere, this is ripe for oxygen here, so it's the same as our planet."
Mm-hmm.
So they're able to take their helmets off and they're able to breathe the air.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking, they're saying, okay, well, we got to let's see if there's anybody on this planet that we can make contact with. So they go into this town and they see, all these old rundown buildings that looks like they've been there for thousands of years. And, they go into these buildings and they come across, some dead bodies, and they're stunned because these bodies look just like them. And, they're relaying it back and forth and saying, hey, these beings in here, they look just like us. They have 2 arms and 2 legs. What the heck's going on? And, they keep looking around and they're checking all these buildings. They're checking the towns. And they're saying, man, these buildings must have been, abandoned, thousands of years ago. They're all run down and everything. And one of the scientists says, well, hey, see if you could find any book to see, if we could find a history of these people, or, what happened with them, because this is strange that they look, just like us. So they end up finding like this kind of little library bookshelf, and they pull off some books, and they're looking in the books, and they're saying, we found some books, but we can't read the language. This is just we're not familiar with this language or anything. So they said, okay, bring the books back to the craft, and we'll go ahead and check them out, and we'll try to decipher them. We got some linguists and all that. We'll see if we could, decipher this language. So they bring the books back, and it's a couple weeks later, and the main guy in charge says, hey, have you found out anything, from the books? Were you able to discern any of the words or anything, so we could see what's going on here? And the one guy says, this is a tough language. We can't decipher anything but one word, and it says Earth. Man, that was really cool. So it was actually some species or some group that landed on Earth that was completely wiped out. So, it was a really cool story with kind of a twist ending there.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds almost like an H.G. Wells novel. You know what? The Time Machine was very close to that. The guy crashed, remember? And then there was the Morlocks and the Eloys, and that was pretty cool. You know what? I'm an H.G. Wells fan. I love H.G. Wells, and I like Jules Verne. I mean, their stories were really something else. Wow.
Yeah, I tell you what, and they've adapted a lot of those stories to radio programs too over the years.
Yeah.
And they're really good. I mean, they put into the production of these old time radio programs the same kind of care and attention to detail that they do into and everything.
I like the old. You know what, Joe? I always like the old radio broadcasts. You know what? I caught the tail end when I was a young kid. You know, where they'd make the sound effects. You know, like
Oh yeah.
You know, at the doors, you know, walking the horses walking down the street.
Yeah.
And that was so cool. That was really neat.
Yeah, there was actually I've done a few articles on some old time radio, and there was one, and I can't recall the exact. I don't know if it was might have been Inner Sanctum, one of them, but they had like a in the beginning they had a creaking door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Here it is. So the squeaking door. So it was Inner Sanctum Mystery.
Okay. Yeah.
And they had this creaking door, and what it was is the way that they did the creaking door is that they had this chair in the office that was always creaking. So they ended up recording it and used it as
That's cool.
As the sound effects for the door.
Yeah, those old broadcasts were really cool. You could almost, you know what, like a picture of the scene in your head when they were doing it. It was really unbelievable.
Yeah, they were unbelievable. And Chuck, you just repeated what happened in Costello. They can hold that ghost.
Oh yeah.
And it goes the door.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That was Meet Frankenstein.
Meet Frankenstein. Yeah.
When he says that they goes that the coffin was being opened.
Yeah.
He's trying to tell Abbott.
Oh, that was hilarious. Oh,
so here's a brief little thing, because I think that's really cool about the door and how the special effects were done. Like you said, Chuck, they had their whole section of special effects, but I'm just going to read real quick here on what I had wrote about the Inner Sanctum.
Yeah.
And about the chair. So it says, while looking for a catchy and frightful gimmick for the show, Hyman remembered an old basement door that squeaked like hell. After conferring with his special effects staff, a door was used but didn't achieve the desired effect. Hyman then grabbed a nearby chair, sat in it, and turned to the others in the room. The subsequent spine-chilling squeak emitted from the old chair caught the attention of everyone in the room and was from then on used as a prop in the show.
Wow.
Not long after using the chair as a prop, a staff member, unaware of its value, repaired and oiled the squeaking, thusly causing the sound effects man to create the sound orally.
Oh my God.
Yeah, could you imagine that? Oh, so the sound of the creaking door became so popular that on February 17th, 1949, Hyman registered the sound for federal copyright protection. The creaking door, as it was submitted, was one of only two sounds copyrighted at the time, the other being the NBC chimes.
Got it, chime. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Yep. Hyman knew the importance of sounds and how they had to conjure a clear mental picture in the mind of the listener. Each sound was clear and concise and played an even more important role than the dialogue, with some scenes going as long as a minute with just sound effects.
Isn't that something? Wow.
Yep. In order to get everything perfect, Hyman used several men and women from the CBS sound effects department to handle all the creaks, cracks, screams, and routine sounds that painstakingly went into every episode. So you could see how important, that was. And for those of you that don't know about Hyman, he was a producer on the show Inner Sanctum Mystery. So yeah, I mean that's really cool on how much importance they put into the sound effects for the shows. I mean, they're just fantastic. And if no one's ever heard, that creaking, door sound, check out Inner Sanctum Mystery. You could find them on YouTube or any, even some podcasts. You could download a lot of them, but it's really cool.
It's funny that you said that, Joe, because down in my job one day it was very windy and it was pouring, raining. And I don't know why I started getting my phone to record the howling wind. We'll go. I did like 40 minutes of howling wind, man. You want to buy some?
Yeah. I tell you what, there's a lot of those old time radio shows, especially the horror ones, that started with, some howling winds. They had some dogs barking, witches crackling. And it was truly, a theater of the mind. And I tell you what, one of my favorite things to do, which I'm really excited for this weekend because we're supposed to get some rain, Yeah, I love it. So when it's kind of nice outside where I could sit in my breezeway without freezing my fingers off. I like to sit out there at night. Usually after the wife goes to sleep around midnight or so, I like to go out there, get a cup of coffee or, maybe an adult beverage if I'm feeling it.
Smoke a cigar. Yeah.
Smoke a cigar and throw on some, old time radio horror classics. And man, just the whole mood of it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Sitting there in the dark is just really cool listening to them, man. I mean, they really start. Some of them are really, you'll feel the hair raising on your arms.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking forward to the rain because I'll just go down the front slope and hit my head off a tree. I'm getting kind of dizzy over here,
That's phenomenal. Hair racing monsters.
Yeah.
Instead of hair growing.
There's one person that I know of, who did sound effects. A one guy machine who was unbelievable. And Michael Winslow was his name. The guy from the Police Academy movies. Yep. That guy is so talented. It is unbelievable.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah, he could have been his own radio show and just
power
sound effects.
Yeah, he's about the best I've ever seen or heard. The guy's on a roll. I've seen him do stand up a few times, and it's awesome. It was so good.
When you're talking about sound effects and stuff like that, I don't know if a lot of you guys are aware. The Johnson Smith Company sold for many, many years a sound effects record, which was the horror sound effects.
Yeah, that's cool.
Horror record. The guy who screams in there was actually Craig Taubeck that we had on the show one time.
Oh, wow.
He actually did the screaming for that record, which was funny. They produced it in New York City, and they actually flew him over to New York, and he did the screaming sound on it. And I think he mentioned that one time in one of our episodes early way back.
Yeah, I think I do remember that. I got the one from what was that? The Honor House?
The Haunting. No. That's the Haunting from the Gale House.
Right, Gale House. That's it. The Gale House.
Yeah, that's the one. It says, invite your friends over for a haunting.
Yeah. It's the Banshee's coming. Ooh, remember?
Yeah. That you could tell, man, that was done in the kitchen somewhere.
Yeah.
But it sounds so cool listening to it. I love listening to that record over and over.
Yeah.
It's just so corny and so cheesy, but it brings back our childhood memories.
Oh yeah, I think I bought that for $1, right? Like 99 cents or something.
Yeah,
like that.
That's exactly how much it used to cost.
Yep.
I actually have about 7 of those, 6, 7, and I also have about 6, 7, 8 of the Johnson Smith because I like those records.
Oh yeah, I played the Gale House one when I was a kid. I remember I put it on a little hi-fi. My dad said, "Turn that crap off. What are you doing?" And he told my mother, "Something wrong with that kid." Yeah.
I tell you what, I love those. I love those records that are just, especially like the Halloween or spooky sound ones that just have special effects in them. You hear the wolves howling, or the wind howling, the witches cracking, ghosts. Ooh, I love it. I play those all the time during Halloween. It's fantastic.
They're fantastic. You know something? There's also another famous one, which of course. Who doesn't know the sounds of the haunted house, which is produced by Disney?
Oh yeah, that's a great one. That is.
Yeah, but you know that famous sound that goes.
Oh yeah.
They used to play that, man, in the 70s in almost every TV show. They have it in Tom and Jerry. They have it in I think in Bugs. I don't know if Bugs Bunny played it, but that sound. And even in Tom and Jerry, when I remember he's after the white mouse and says the white mouse is going to explode, he's about to kick him, and then the whole house explodes and he comes out and says, "Don't you believe it?"
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh.
That's one of my favorite episodes because of the sound effects. But sound effects, this is funny. Here's a story really quick. Back in, I don't know, I think, a few years ago, Caf, the one destroying the cover for my upcoming book there, Caf Cavaraj, who's a great friend of mine, an artist, one time when I first met him, he drew for me a cover for me to produce my own horror record. And it was always in back of my mind to do an actual vinyl and produce it. I've kind of put it off a little. I've been thinking about it it's funny that we're talking about records.
Yeah, that would be cool because you know what? These vinyl records, like Joe said, they're actually coming back. I mean, people are buying these records again.
Yeah, it'll be phenomenal, and that'll be one that's exclusive to us. because you don't want. And Joe, I'll let you do the howling, okay?
Perfect. And yeah, but like Chuck said, those records are coming back, and there's if people could go out and check their flea markets or secondhand record store, you could find these records for fairly cheap. I actually found several old time radio shows, some horror and sci-fi ones on record, and usually you'll get 2 stories or so, or 4 stories, and I found them relatively cheap, $5. And
hey, when we were in high school, we all had record albums. Remember, Cheri liked, who was that? David Cassidy. She has.
Well, no, I liked other.
Yeah, but she was in love with David Cassidy.
That was a program.
Yes.
Oh, Cheri.
Yeah, the Partridge Family.
Partridge Family. I used to watch that.
I think
I was 13 years old.
I think you still have that album, don't you?
I might have that. Yeah.
Yeah, she saved it all these years.
Well, guys, when you're talking about all that stuff and albums and stuff, you know what's interesting? About 2 or 3 days ago, I was looking. Is somebody somebody's moving the microphone? Can you hear the crackling sound?
Somebody's clicking or clackling.
Yeah, because we hear them. Might be you, Chuck.
I don't know. Were you okay? Does it sound all right?
Is it all right?
No, because it's going. It's like crackling.
You have a ghost that's on. He's crackling. There it goes.
I'm sliding down the front slope.
Yeah, it's
you're eating a cracker.
Chuck's podcasting as he's sliding down his front yard.
No, what I was going to say is that when you're talking about records and stuff, there's a record that, a couple of years ago, I went to the Meadowlands Flea Market, which has been there 40 years by Giant Stadium, and there was a guy selling albums, and it was kind of funny though because he was selling horror albums. He came to me for like $5 a piece. I bought, I think, like 18 different ones from the 70s, all in mint condition. And the price was crazy. But here's the funny thing. There's one that's called Sounds to Make You Shiver. The original one was in 1960 or 1950 something. No, I'm sorry. I think it was 1938. And it had 2 skeletons like playing an organ. Then they made Sounds to Make You Shiver that had a lightning bolt across the front cover. And then Sounds to Make You Shiver, which is more known, and they sell it, and it's the same record with different, years. They've changed the cover on it. The one that had the lightning bolts, I actually came across it on Amazon, I think a few days ago, and I was trying to get, I said, wow, that looks like a nice cover. I want to get that, even though I have several of the same record, but I just wanted a different cover. Friend, the cheapest one on eBay is $245.
Wow.
It was crazy. What
unbelievable. Wow.
So
everything's going up.
I said no.
Even those old black and white cartoons, they got the skeleton dance and everything. Those are really, really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I bought a special edition that DVD a while back, but I'm always looking for Mickey Mouse, The Haunted House.
Oh yeah.
The original, that's just perfect. He's coming into the house. He's got the howling wind, like,
yeah.
And his umbrella's breaking. And I mean, that's the way cartoons should be, man.
Yeah.
Right.
It's phenomenal, but that's like the old Mickey Mouse and stuff. And then later on, it kind of, I don't know if Disney made it as good as what they used to back then. But talking about records and stuff, Joe, do you have a record collection, a vinyl collection of horror sounds or no?
I do. I have several of the horror sounds. I can't remember the exact name of them. I know there's one that's like, I can't remember. It's a real weird one from the 70s. It's the cover. It just says, sounds to like make you mad or something like that, or scream. And then a lot of the other ones, the ones that I really like that have like the horror, the Halloween theme type, illustrations on the covers. And then I do a lot of anything I can find that's like pop culture from that came onto records. Like if it was like the Tarzan radio programs, the Shadow, Star Trek, Star Wars, anything like that I could find there. Even there's a lot of comic book ones too. There was Superman, Spider-Man, the Hulk, Batman. They even did some of the like from the comic strips. There's like Snuffy Smith. I think there's a Garfield one. There's Peanuts. There's just a ton of them. It was, anything that you could think of that was probably on TV, you could find it in a on a record from that time, from the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you're talking about a lot of those records, because I have quite a few, like Casper, Spooky, like the big giant LPs. One thing I'm going to say though is I do have. If you guys remember KB Toys right before it closed down.
Oh yes. Yeah, they were cool.
There was a Halloween and KB Toys was selling. I don't know, this years ago. They were selling sound effects DVDs. I'm sorry, CDs. And each CD had a different, like one was laughter, one was ghostly moans, and they had like I think 17, 18 of them, and they normally were $4.95 each, and they were selling them that day for 99 cents each.
Wow.
So I bought one of each,
Yeah.
and then I kept on going every year, either cassette tape or whatever, any type of haunted house tape I bought. So it brought my total number to 217
wow.
of records and CDs that are horror sound effects. Then again, anytime a Gale House goes on, it's kind of crazy and absurd that they sell them for like $100, $75 for a little 45 album. But when I've gotten them for $20, $30, I bought over time, quite a few of them. And the Gale House is one of those records where nobody had heard it for years and years.
Right.
And then this guy named Jason, he's like a graphic artist. He's kind of popular on the internet. I haven't really talked to him recently or anything, but he had like a blog just like Kirk Damaris does. In fact, Kirk Damaris actually has one of those hair cards I gave him. That's the one from Mail Order Mysteries. You'll see it on the book there. That one I gave Kirk, that particular one. But I was going to say, with the sound effects and all that stuff, there is definitely, anyway, I'm sorry. What I was saying, I kind of lost my thought here is Jason had a site or a blog. This is when there's a famous place called Blogger where you can start your own blog. I don't know if they're still around, but he had a site called Scar Stuff, SCAR Stuff. And when you went there, he uploaded every single record he could from horror sound effects from the 1970s. He had the whole enchilada. He had The Haunting. And I think that's the first time The Haunting was heard by a lot of people out there, because I don't know if the link is still even active today, but he had all the records that you would see in Famous Monsters of Filmland.
Yeah.
Which I actually have those original records. They were LPs, and they were sold. And you know what's so funny? As I'm actually saying this, I kind of realized this record I just told you that I was trying to buy, I think I have it. I just realized I think I do have it. I have to check, but I definitely have that record, I think, because there's also another one that has Frankenstein, and it has Frankenstein's face on one side, and then in the other side it has a hand with 6 fingers instead of one, and those were all sold through Famous Monsters of Filmland.
Oh, that's cool. Wow. Yeah, you know what? There's an item that I put a picture on the forum. It's called a ghost gun. I don't know if you guys seen it or not. And
I saw it. Did you see the one I sent you back?
Yeah. That's like a bigger one, like a rifle or something. I think it was pretty big. This is the one I put on there is a modified, more like a magic trick. It was built by there was a mentalist in Columbus, Ohio, named Robert Nelson. And you know what? He sold this to use like in seances. So what you do in total darkness, you would nonchalantly pull this out of your pocket and you just aim it at the wall and you'd squeeze the trigger, and like the small light would come on and it would cast the image on the film strip. You know what? Like a skull. And then when you pulled the trigger again, it would advance to the next one. It would put like a werewolf's hand on the wall or something like that. And you know what? And so these were actual toys. From my understanding, from like the Walt Disney Company, because these guns originally, what they had was a film strip of like Pluto and Mickey Mouse. And so this guy, Robert Nelson, put his own film strip on there for spooky things. And he also had modified it, with a weaker bulb so it doesn't cast a beam across the room. And he also put like a front tube on it, so like it's a hollow type of tube, so the spectators more or less can't see, where the light is coming from. So it was like a brilliant, brilliant type of it was a spirit type of a gun.
Where
And
did you get that gun, Chuck?
I got that about 25 years ago from a local collector here in Pittsburgh. He was a very good friend of mine. He had passed away since then. And so, yeah, so this is the original one sold by Robert Nelson back in the 40s, I believe. And it's got the original holder and everything. It's, what the film inside. Now, I'm not real good with films, but I think this is like a 16 millimeter or something like that. And it's near impossible to get this thing copied because about 10 years ago I tried. And you know what? No one seems to have the technology to even go back in time to do something like this. But it's a really, really cool gun. You know what? Check out the pictures because I opened it up and I snapped some pictures and put it on the forum.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It works perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, that gun came into the conversation between me and you when I was telling you about the other one I sent you back in the 70s. And I'm surprised you don't remember the other one. The Hasbro Ghost gun was sold in Woolworth.
I think you know what? I think I do remember something about it, Eddie.
Yeah, they were sold. They were like $7.98 or $19, whatever it was. I mean, not 19. You're never gonna have $19 back then. But that ghost gun is the way that worked. It's kind of like a light. It projects it, and you put film strips, and the film strips are like they're like a foot long. It has like a lot of miniature ghost on it, and as you put it in, when you shoot the ghost, it would actually pop a hole in it like a hole puncher. So you saw
cool.
on you would see on the wall the image of the ghost, and then you would see the little holes, and that means you're shooting at it. It was very cheesy, very something. The thing with that is that you had to buy more strips because once you used up the ones you had. So I actually have about 3 or 4 of those guns that I bought over the years. I have one in the original box. I have one that's outside the box, and they also made another one. I think like an alien thing, which I also have. I haven't seen it, but I know the other one's red, and that's called the Hasbro Ghost Gun. Today, that thing that was on eBay one for $200.
Yeah,
the box. It goes for a lot of money now, but it's the same year they came up with the Lakeside Haunted Mansion game. That same year is when they had that, and that's the same time that they had a Voice of the Mummy's Tomb.
Oh yeah.
Remember the one I showed you the other, and that was phenomenal. The Voice of the Mummy was one of my favorite games ever.
That looked cool.
That was Milton Bradley who did that one.
Yeah, that looked really cool. Hey, I see you found a Fright Factory, Eddie. It's in pretty darn good condition, man. Wow.
Well, yeah, the Fright Factory. What happened is the day that I got of course, Mr. Todd, aka the King, insisted that I post the stuff I have. So I was bringing some of the box and I said, you know what? I opened this big barrel. I think it's a 60-gallon barrel or 72-gallon that I have that at one time I purchased to make a robot body from. And I stuffed there a lot of the games. And inside there it was. And it was sideways. So I had to open the box and put everything back in order because everything was all over the place. But I posted it on the forum. That's my Fright Factory from Thing Maker.
Oh man,
they're selling one on eBay right now for $2,800.
Yeah, that's crazy. I tell you what, the one you have, the box looks really cool on the outside. It looks like it's in perfect condition almost. The graphics, anyway.
It is. The only thing, like I said, that's not in perfect condition is the styrofoam part of it.
Yeah.
Underneath it had some holes, but you know what? Overall, it is in perfect condition.
Yeah, I tell you what, as you guys know, I've already stated that was my absolutely favorite toy. I mean, we played with it for hours and hours. It's so cool.
So Joe, you said you wanted to bring up a little bit about classic radio and stuff and Crypt of Classics. You want to bring us up to date on some of your upcoming ideas?
Yeah, you know what I was wanting to, which I think that we might do here in the future, is I definitely want to bring back the Crypto Classics every week, and that way we could start getting everybody out there, some more horror movie ideas and sci-fi movie ideas, and also maybe a old-time radio program that's kind of easy for everyone to find, something you could find on YouTube and listen to. because I know some of our audience is a little bit older, so they're probably familiar with the old time radio, but for some of our younger listeners, they might not be. So I'd like to put one out there every week, and I think we're going to start that maybe next week on the next podcast. So we'll bring to you guys a movie and a radio program that you
Ooh, nice.
So
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we're going to make it a weekly a weekly thing. Now we'll get it right at the beginning of the podcast. We'll get it out of the way. That way we don't interrupt any of our topics or discussions or anything like that. So we'll give it to you guys. You make sure you have a pen and paper handy so that you could write it down. I'll give you guys the year of the movie and the radio episode and where you could find it, so that way it's easy for everyone to get to.
Nice. It sounds good, man.
And the best part is that I'm going to start what they call double using our shows, or putting second use to our podcast. I am going to start actually uploading. I've been uploading a few podcasts. I'm going to do everything. Once I download to my hard drive, I'm going to start uploading all the podcasts we've done, which we're almost hitting 100 shows in the next couple of weeks. And the idea is to upload it to the YouTube channel so that people can listen or watch it on YouTube. The podcast, of course, is not going to have live pictures, but it's going to have live, like background things. And I'll have a couple of good photographs of toys and stuff from the 70s that people will enjoy. So I'm sure that,
that sounds great.
Thing that's coming up ahead.
Yeah, that sounds really good, Eddie.
Yes, we definitely have some good stuff coming up, and I'm going to give everyone out there a movie for this week. As a this is going to be a pre Crypto Classics movie here, which I watched this past weekend, and I thought it was really good, and it was creepy. I really liked the premise of it. I had seen this movie maybe about 5 years ago, but I caught like the last half of it. I can't remember where I caught it. I didn't really know, what it was, but I ended up finding it this time, and it was really cool movie, and it is called The Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism.
Oh my!
It's really good. It stars Christopher Lee, Karen Dorr, Lex Barker, Carl Lang, and Dieter Epler, and it also goes by. You might see it as some of its other names: the Blood Demon, the Snake Pit and the Pendulum, or the Castle of the Walking Dead.
Wow!
Most of the Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism, and it is a 1967 West German horror film. And I tell you what, it is fantastic. It is almost kind of like a zombie. There's zombie type people in it, and it's very very loosely based off of The Pit and the Pendulum by Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, there's maybe one or two scenes in there that would kind of relate back to the story, but it's I tell you what, it's creepy.
Definitely check it out. I love Christopher Lee.
Yeah, I tell you what, the set pieces and the scenes are very cool. The torture chamber under the castle is very creepy. They got all these rooms with like traps and everything, and it's a fantastic movie. I definitely recommend watching it. It's not too long. It's only 81 minutes, and I highly recommend it. So that's our Crypto Classics movie for the week, and next week I'll bring out a different movie with a little bit more information on it, along with the radio thing. But I wanted to put out that movie this week because it is something that's very good, and any movie with Christopher Lee is always a plus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, did any of you guys has anybody seen this movie before?
No, it sounds familiar though. I mean, when I was skimming through the different movies available on our cable network, I know I've seen a preview of it, so I'll go back and definitely check that out.
You love zombies, Chuck.
Yeah, I do. I love zombies.
Yeah, you'll definitely. I tell you what, I'm willing to bet that you've seen a little bit of it, or that you have seen it before. And I tell you what, Lex Barker, he's great in it. He played people might remember him as playing Tarzan for the old RKO pictures, from 1949 to 53. And his other co-host, Karen Dorr, she was absolutely fantastic. She was also a Bond girl too, and starred in Alfred Hitchcock's Topaz movie from 1969. And for all you Bond fanatics, which I am not really, but if you do want to see her in a Bond movie, it's You Only Live Twice from 1967.
Oh, okay.
And she's an absolutely fantastic actress, very beautiful. Lex Barker, he's fantastic in everything he's in, and Christopher Lee, I don't really need to say much about him that hasn't already been said. He's just absolutely great in everything. So
yeah, he is. You know what? I think a few years before he died, he was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Remember, he was his father that didn't want the kid to eat chocolate. Remember, he was. Yeah, he played really good in there too. Oh my god! I think I was back when our kids were younger. We took him.
Yeah.
To see
that
it.
with Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good movie.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, everything he's in is good, and it's kind of sucks that he had to go when he did. But he was up there in age. He was, God, I think his 80s wasn't it late 80s or early?
Oh yeah, definitely. He was
93. I'm looking at his thing online here. 93. So
wow.
God bless him.
Yeah, he worked all the way up to his dying days.
Well, that's what Clint Eastwood is doing.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood's like 105, and he's still starring.
Yeah,
movies, so.
It's funny how he still had another movie out there.
Overall, William Shatner too. How old's William Shatner? He's got
90. He's 90.
Yeah.
90. Yeah, he just went up into space. I think Elon Musk shipped him up and broke the atmosphere, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It is, but you know something though. When you're talking about William Shatner stuff, William Shatner doesn't look bad for his age. He looks like maybe 80.
Yeah, he looks pretty good. Yeah,
that's what money does. Money makes you look good for a long time.
There you go.
I think it's because why he's kind of overweight, and maybe the overweight fills in the wrinkles.
The wrinkles, yeah.
Because Clint Eastwood and stuff is kind of really thin, so the wrinkles are there. Even Arnold, is kind of lost a lot, but he's kind of chunky, and that's probably why he looks younger. And that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, that is true. I think
that is true.
I think a person looks better if they're a little plump, maybe, huh?
Plumps them up, baby.
Yeah,
it makes them a little bit more healthier. But hey, guys, we're down to our last 3 minutes here, so we got to start wrapping this up. Unfortunately, and want to start off by thanking all of our listeners out there that join into us week after week, or sporadically, or first or second time. Thank you, and we hope to have caught you in our grip, so to say, and keep you coming back for more, because every week we have some different conversations, whether we're talking about mail order novelties, magic, horror movies, sci-fi, comic books, toys. We're always talking about something along the UFOs, Howling Wind from LP Records. You never know what we're gonna get into on here. We're always something different. Nothing. We don't script anything on here. We just kind of go with the flow on whatever we feel like talking about. But hey, thank you for joining us. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to us, give us a great review, because that stuff does help us in the whole algorithm thing, and we want to get out there to more people every week. So also check us out on YouTube. Chuck and Eddie are always putting out some fantastic videos. Subscribe to our channel, like the videos, hit the whatever the notification thing is, so you get notified every time a new video drops on there. And also we have our flagship home base, houseoftheunusual.com. That is our home. That's where you could find us, usually on the forum there. There's a lot of great photos of people's collection going out. We've mentioned a few of them tonight. So if you don't know what we're talking about, want to see them, head on over there to the forums. Join up. It's for free. You can't beat free. Everybody loves free. So join up, interact with us. There's some great conversations. And make sure you keep checking us out every week. And, drop us some feedback on the forums, too, of what you'd like to hear. If you want to be a guest, If there's something you like or don't like, or if you just want to say, hey, Joe's cool, I really like him.
There you go.
Yeah.
Eddie's cool, man. Joe's cool. Eddie's the
Joe's so cool.
or if you want to give your well wishes for Chuck in his back so that he doesn't fall down
keep him off the slope.
Yeah, keep him off the slopes there, and pray for his poor wife Cheri so she doesn't have to take care of him during her retirement. But guys, thank you everybody for joining us. Chuck, Cheri, Eddie,
Thank you.
Joe, myself, thank you for joining me. Thanks.
No problem.
All right, guys.
God bless. Goodbye.
We will see everybody next week. Goodbye.
God bless.
Bye. God bless.